Hey, it's Ray with 120X AI, and I'm going to show you how business owners, operators, people who are comfortable with technology, but they're non coders, can start building real software solutions with AI in house without falling into the dreaded vibe coding pit. Most people are using AI coding tools backwards. They'll open Codex, Claude Code, Cursor. Heck, these applications, they tell us to do this, right? And they'll say, build me an app, create this, do this. And that can create an interesting demo, but it usually breaks down when the project gets real or complicated. The problem isn't so much the AI, a lot of it is the context window, but the real problem is the handoff, the discipline, the structure behind it. In this video, I'm going to show you the quick version of how my 120X architect builder workflow, where I've created over 35 projects over the last 14 months, enterprise level projects too, where I use ChatGPT or Claude Chat as the architect. I'll use Codex or Claude Code as the builder. And the handoff is not some messy chat thread. No, the handoff becomes a disciplined project folder in a disciplined file system. Think about building a house. You would not walk up to a framing crew with a napkin sketch and say, build my dream house, something modern. 3 bedrooms, nice kitchen, go figure it out. That would be insane. You would start with an architect, right? What's that architect's job? It's to help define and extract that dream vision out of you, ask the right questions, create the plans, think through the constraints, define what the builder is supposed to build. And software should work the same way. The architect creates the plan. The builder builds from this discipline plan. That's the whole idea. So in this workflow, the architect layer, that's going to define the business goal, the users, the workflow, the requirements, the risks, the tech stack, the decisions, the validation plan, the blueprints for each sprint, how many sprints there are going to be, the acceptance criteria of each sprint, and the handoff prompt. And then for each sprint, that builder layer is going to execute from those written artifacts. Discipline, no question, no ambiguity. And so for me, ChatGPT or Claude is usually the architect layer. It can be any large language model, but those are what I use. Codex, Claude Code, Cursor, or any other kind of AI coding tool, that becomes the builder layer. And the builder should not be guessing anything. It should be executing on an approved sprint that you worked out with your architect. This matters because a lot of people closest to the workflow are not traditional developers, right? You may be an owner, an operator, consultant, executive, department head. In business, there's tons of bottlenecks. But if you're there, if you understand the inputs, you understand the outputs, the approvals, the exceptions, the spreadsheets, the reports, the bottlenecks, you're in a great position to create a little micro app and you can do it in-house. That knowledge you have is raw material that will lead directly to an opportunity. And that opportunity is learning how to turn that knowledge into builder-ready instructions. And you can do it with these AI tools. You don't have to become a full-time software engineer. The skill set is learning how to do a better workflow with your architect, and then the builder will execute beautifully. The key principle is this. The source of truth is not the chat. The source of truth becomes a project folder you and your architect will create that goes into a disciplined file structure. And that folder holds the durable project memory. At a high level, you're going to have an agents markdown file for project instructions, a state markdown for the current status, decisions for decisions, domain for the business context and rules, risks for the known risks of the project as they present themselves to, questions, open-ended questions of the project goes through its life cycle, docs for durable technical documentation, and of course the most important part, the sprints for the actual sprint files where it gives the specific instructions to the builder, which each sprint file has a requirements document, a blueprint, an acceptance, and a handoff prompt for each sprint. And that's what Codex reads before it builds, or Claude Code. Now I'll show you the fast version of how I would do this. I would start with my local 120X project launcher, which I created. It's an internal tool that I built to reduce startup friction. It creates the project folder schema, collects metadata, captures the architect intake, and generates my first architect starter prompt that I'm going to give to ChatGPT or Claude and start the conversation. I enter the project name, the client, the description, the destination folder, and a rough version of the workflow problem. So for example, in this case, we want to take a messy Excel and PDF reporting inputs and turn them into a weekly executive newsletter and a monthly dashboard. And then I create the project with this tool. And what happens, this tool generates the folder structure and all the starter files, right? I'm building the foundation. The most important output is the architect starter prompt, which I get right here. and I paste this into ChatGPT or Claude, whichever I choose, and tells them you're the architect layer, here's the project metadata, here's the intake, here's the methodology, here's the folder path. Your job is not to write code. Your job is to help me create the planning artifacts. I copy that prompt into the new ChatGPT architect chat in a project within ChatGPT or Claude. Now ChatGPT or Claude is not just chatting generally, it has a specific mission. It's operating as the architect for this project. The architect will probably ask me discovery questions first. In fact, I hope it does, and that is good. It should not fake certainty. It should not hallucinate and make up things, which it is wont to do if you're not specific. And so once there's enough context, ChatGPT or Claude will create an architect pack 001, the first pack. And that pack is one markdown file that contains all the project planning updates. It'll include project state, decision, risk, questions, domain context, sprint requirements, sprint blueprint, acceptance criteria, builder handoff prompt, architecture, or validation docs. The important thing is this. That architect output becomes a file, this markdown file. It's not a messy chat thread. It's a file. Now I save this architect pack into the root level of the project folder that I have on my hard drive, and then I open the builder, Codex or Claude Code, in that folder, and then I ask Codex to do a dry run against that architect pack. And that tells the builder and shows what files would be created and updated. And if that dry run looks safe, then I say apply it. Now the architect pack becomes real project files into my discipline system. Codex or Claude Code hasn't built the app yet or even started coding. It's just helped move the architect's plan into the appropriate folders. Now the sprint folder is populated, and this is where the actual build discipline starts. Now Codex can read the agents, the state, the decisions, the domains, the risks, the questions, the active sprint requirements for this sprint, the sprint blueprint, the acceptance criteria, and the handoff prompt. And now before Codex writes the code or Claude Code writes the code, I ask it to summarize. What is this sprint supposed to accomplish? Tell me what I told you to build. What files are you going to modify? What validations are you going to run? What blockers or ambiguities do you see? Only after I get that summary back and I take it back to my architect and we both approve, then we actually start building and coding. That's the difference between disciplined AI-assisted software building and vibe coding. And you repeat this back and forth through however many sprints you have. Maybe you got 10, maybe you got 15, maybe you got 20 sprints. The architect defines the plan. The folder preserves the plan. The builder executes the plan. If you're an operator, an owner, a consultant, an executive, you're a non-coder, this is your opportunity. We live in the best time in the history of the planet. You can use your workflow, your tribal knowledge to help create real internal software following this disciplined approach. Not by asking AI to guess, but by learning to architect the work clearly. Like I said, I've used this method to build over 35 projects over the last 14 months. Just this right here, this project launcher that I was just showing you here. I built this last week to help with this process because the front end was so clunky. So as you can see here using in my builder, you can see I ran 15 sprints. You can see in my file folder, all the sprints that are in here, everything is all organized. And this is the output that I got. I did this in half a day. And these are the type of things that you can build, small little micro apps that can solve your problems, your bottlenecks. Architect first, builder second, build from the blueprint, rinse and repeat. If you got questions about this, click the links in the mail. Check me out at 120xAI. I got a free kit you can download. You can get all the prompts. You can learn how to do this yourself. If you want me to build it for you, I can certainly do it. And if you're interested in joining my cohort where I've got 10 owners and operators, people who are actually building real and solving real solutions in real time, I'd like to see you on the inside.